Just suppose that everything you are experiencing right now is not quite as solid as you think it is. Imagine for a moment that life is like a dream, so vivid, so convincing that you've forgotten you were the dreamer. Because when you dream at night, do you not believe it while you are in it? You can run, you can laugh, you can suffer, you can fall in love, and while you dream, it is utterly real. Only when you awaken do you smile and say, it was only a dream. But what if the same could be said about this, what you call reality? What if waking life is itself another dream, only of a different kind, and you are still waiting to wake up? If that was so, then everything, your struggles, your ambitions, your fears, your very identity, takes on a different meaning. Life ceases to be a trap and becomes a kind of play, a marvelous illusion in which the universe pretends for a time to be you. When we begin to reflect upon the nature of life itself, we are confronted with a peculiar uncertainty, one that most of us spend our days avoiding. We take for granted that the ground beneath our feet is solid, that the people we meet are as real and substantial as we ourselves appear to be, and that what we call reality has an unquestionable authority. Yet, if you look more deeply, you begin to notice that this so-called solidity is not as firm as it seems. In the same way that, in a dream at night, the scenery, the people, the events appear wholly convincing until you wake, so too might this waking life be a kind of dream, a vivid projection of something beyond your present comprehension. When you dream at night, you never stop in the middle of it and say, "This is only a dream." You are carried along, swept into its current, feeling pain and joy, desire and fear, as though it were entirely real. Only when your eyes open to another dimension of awareness do you smile at how fooled you were. This raises the profound and unsettling question. What if our waking life is like that too? What if reality itself is a dream that has lasted so long and feels so consistent that we have forgotten we are the dreamer? Consider the way your mind weaves images while you sleep. A whole city can arise, detailed with streets, weather, strangers' faces, conversations, sensations of taste and touch, even a coherent passage of time. None of it has mass, none of it has actual substance, yet in the moment it feels unshakably real. A dream can break your heart, can terrify you, can thrill you, and you awaken still trembling or still weeping, because your body has been persuaded that what it encountered was genuine. Now look again at the so-called waking world. Are you so sure it is any different? For here too everything you experience arises as patterns of perception in your mind, filtered by your senses, shaped by your memory, colored by your emotions. You call this reality, but what you actually know are pictures in consciousness, no more substantial in themselves than the figures in a dream. The dream does not tell you it is a dream, and life does not announce that it is a dream either. It convinces you through continuity, through consistency, through the sense of cause and effect. In a dream you drop a glass and it shatters, and you think, yes, that is how it must be. You do not question the physics of the dream while you are in it, even though in the next moment the laws may change and you may find yourself flying. In waking life the rules seem more stable, and so we trust them more. Yet even these so-called laws are not absolute, but relative to the frame of perception in which you find yourself. The physicist tells us that the solidity of matter is an illusion, that atoms are mostly empty space, that particles themselves are not little billiard balls, but wavering fields of probability. What you take as concrete is a kind of mirage, energy dancing in patterns your mind interprets as tables and chairs, flesh and bone, earth and sky. It is no more solid than the images of your nighttime dream. It only feels more convincing because you have been dreaming it longer. To explore this idea more deeply, imagine for a moment that life is indeed a dream, not yours alone, but a dream shared, a vast imaginative play in which every being, every object, every circumstance arises like characters and scenery in a theater. You are immersed in this play so thoroughly that you forget your authorship. You become a character in your own drama, believing that you are the product rather than the creator. In this way, reality lulls you into identification with a single role, a narrow identity, convincing you that this is all you are. Yet, just as in a dream, you are not only the character running from danger or falling in love, but also the entire field in which the dream takes place, so too in life you are not only the individual self with its hopes and fears, but also the consciousness within which the entire world arises. The strange thing about dreams is that they show us how effortlessly the mind can create entire worlds. You close your eyes and there it is, a universe with texture, drama, even meaning. Where did it come from? You did not consciously build it brick by brick. It unfolded spontaneously from a deeper level of yourself. Life may operate in precisely the same way. It arises spontaneously without you having to command it. You did not instruct your heart to beat or your lungs to breathe or the stars to shine. Reality simply appears moment by moment, arising in the field of consciousness as spontaneously as a dream. The continuity and order we perceive may be nothing more than the dream's internal logic, convincing us that we are awake. It is important to recognize how thoroughly we are enchanted by appearances. The marketplace, the busy street, the hum of conversation, the ticking of the clock, all insist that they are real and solid. Yet when you look closely, you discover that each is a vibration in consciousness. The sound of the clock is not in the clock alone, but in the interplay between the clock, your ear, and your awareness. The street is not simply out there, but also the sensation of ground beneath your feet, the smell of the air, the sight of passing faces, all coalescing in the mind's theater. Just as in a dream, the apparent world is a collaboration between perception and awareness. Without the dreamer, there is no dream. Without awareness, there is no world. This realization can be deeply unsettling because it undermines the confidence we place in what we call real. We want something solid to cling to, a floor that will not give way. Yet if life is dreamlike, then what we cling to is already insubstantial. But this need not be frightening. On the contrary, it can be liberating. For if life is a dream, then the terrible weight we place upon it can dissolve. We do not need to control every outcome, to secure every possession, to defend every position. In a dream, you may be king one moment and pauper the next, and both are simply scenes in the play. If you see life in this way, its ups and downs lose their capacity to crush you. You begin to take it more lightly, to dance with it, to enjoy the play rather than suffer under its illusions. Consider too how dreams blur the line between self and other. In a dream, you meet people, you argue, you fall in love or quarrel, yet all of them are creations of your own mind. They are not separate beings with their own consciousness. They are you wearing other faces. What if in waking life the people you meet are also expressions of the same consciousness that you are? What if the entire field of reality is one dreaming itself as many? Then every encounter becomes a meeting with yourself in disguise, every conflict an internal drama projected outward, every love a recognition of the same essence reflected back. To live with this awareness is to live with a profound sense of unity, to see through the illusion of separateness that dreams and life create. And think of how often in a dream you realize too late that you were asleep. You awaken and say, if only I had known, I could have flown, I could have changed the story. But the realization came only after the fact. Life too may be like this. We are immersed so completely in its story that we rarely question its reality, rarely recognize our capacity to alter our relationship to it. Yet moments of awakening come, through meditation, through love, through sudden insight, when the veil lifts and we see that it was all dreamlike, all flowing, all ungraspable. These glimpses remind us that our ordinary sense of reality is provisional, not ultimate. They hint that we may be more than the roles we play, more than the scenes we inhabit, more than the story we tell ourselves of who we are. The mind resists this notion because it feels like it undermines survival. To believe life is a dream sounds irresponsible, like ignoring bills or abandoning duties. But that is a misunderstanding. To see life as dreamlike does not mean to treat it as meaningless, but to approach it with the lightness and creativity that dream awareness brings. When you lucid dream, when you know you are dreaming, the dream becomes more vivid, more alive, not less. You are able to move with freedom, to explore, to delight. Likewise, when you see life as dreamlike, you do not abandon it, but engage with it more fully, knowing that its fleeting nature is what makes it precious. Every child has had the experience of waking from a nightmare and sighing with relief. It was only a dream. Imagine if one day we awaken from life with the same realization, smiling at all the struggles and fears that seemed so real. Imagine discovering that what you thought was heavy and final was never more than a passing play of images in the mind of the cosmos. This perspective softens our grip, loosens our anxieties, allows us to live with a certain joy even in difficulty. Because if it is all dream, then you can take risks. You can love fiercely, you can laugh at the absurdity, because nothing is as permanent or serious as it seemed. And what is most fascinating is that even now, while you listen, while you reflect, while you wonder whether these words are true, you are still inside the dream. The very act of questioning reality is itself part of reality's dream. You cannot step outside it, just as you cannot escape your own consciousness. Yet by entertaining the possibility that life is dreamlike, you begin to wake up within it. You begin to see through the veil, to glimpse the play for what it is. And in that awakening, even partial, there is freedom, there is release, there is wonder, because you realize that you are not trapped in some mechanical prison, but dancing in a dream of infinite creativity. When we consider the self, the peculiar sense of I that each of us carries from moment to moment, we usually imagine it to be something solid, bounded, and enduring. We think of ourselves as a skin-encapsulated ego, a mind residing inside a body, looking out through the senses at an external world that seems separate from us. This impression is so persistent, so convincing, that we rarely pause to question it. Yet when you look closely, you will notice that the self is not what it appears to be. In the same way that the figures you meet in a dream at night are not separate people, but projections of the dreamer's imagination, so too in waking life the self you believe yourself to be may not be an isolated being, but an expression of a greater dreamer. What you call you may in fact be the universe itself pretending, for a time, to be an individual, just as an actor takes on a role in a play. And if this is true, then the boundaries of the self dissolve, and we are revealed to be both the dreamer and the dream, both the author and the character, both the one who plays and the play itself. Think about how your sense of self is constructed. You recall a history, a name, a body, a set of experiences that belong to you, and you take these as evidence of a solid identity. But memories are slippery things, constantly reshaped by the present, colored by emotion, blurred by time. The body itself is not fixed either, for the cells are constantly dying and regenerating, the atoms replaced until nothing of what once was remains. Yet through this endless flux you insist on saying, I am the same person. What gives rise to this continuity? It is the dream of identity, the story the mind tells itself, the narrative that stitches together fragments of experience into a character called or me. But just as in a dream, at night you inhabit a role, perhaps a hero, perhaps a victim, perhaps a wanderer, and you believe it completely while you are in it. So too in waking life you inhabit the role of your identity, convinced that this role is your entirety. What if this is simply the universe's way of playing a game with itself? The self as dreamer is not a metaphor, but a direct pointer to the structure of experience. In a dream, there is one mind generating an entire world, complete with landscapes, weather, sounds, and characters. The characters in the dream do not know they are dream characters. They believe themselves independent and autonomous. Yet from a higher vantage, you know that all of them, friend and foe, lover and stranger, are you in disguise. In waking life, we may be in the same situation. Each of us believes ourselves to be separate, bounded, autonomous individuals, but at the deepest level, we are expressions of the same consciousness. The universe dreams itself as you, as me, as everyone you have ever met. To encounter another is to meet yourself in a different form. To love another is to recognize your own essence reflected back. To fight another is to struggle against yourself. All of life becomes a vast play of mirrors, with the dreamer hidden behind every mask. It is a peculiar habit of human beings to imagine the self as separate from the world. We say, I came into this world, as if we were aliens dropped into an alien landscape. But the truth is that we came out of this world in the same way a wave rises out of the ocean or a leaf grows from a tree. You are not in the world, you are of the world. You are not a stranger here, you are an expression of it. The self is not an isolated observer, but an inseparable aspect of the totality. The notion of separateness is part of the dream. It is the way the universe convinces itself that the play is real. For the game would be no fun if you remembered all along that you were the author. The delight lies in losing yourself in the role, in forgetting that you are playing. Think of a game of hide and seek. The fun of it is not in always knowing where everyone is, but in not knowing, in being fooled, in the thrill of the search. Life may be precisely this, the universe playing hide and seek with itself, hiding behind the mask of individuality, pretending not to know that it is one. The self is the mask, the persona, the costume. Beneath it lies the great actor, the dreamer that has been here all along. You may think of yourself as an isolated ripple, but you are the ocean rippling. You may think of yourself as a spark, but you are the fire sparking. To remember this is to awaken to your true nature, to see that what you call I is not the tiny ego, but the boundless consciousness within which all things arise. The illusion of separation is reinforced by language. We say, I think, I see, I feel, as if there were a little homunculus inside the skull, an observer peering out. Yet when you try to locate this observer, it dissolves. Thoughts arise on their own, sensations appear spontaneously, perceptions emerge unbidden. The I that claims ownership of them is a phantom, a story the mind tells about experience. And when you search for the self directly, you find nothing solid, no thinker apart from thoughts, no seer apart from seeing, no feeler apart from feeling. The self is not an entity but a process, not a substance but a performance. In a dream, the characters are convincing, but they are woven of the same fabric as the scenery. Likewise, in life the self seems solid, but it is woven of the same fabric as the world. There is no dreamer separate from the dream. This realization transforms our understanding of suffering. Most of our pain comes from defending the self, from guarding it, aggrandizing it, fearing for its survival. But if the self is not what we thought, if it is not a fragile, separate entity, but the dreamer itself, then what is there to defend? What is there to fear? The death of the role is not the death of the actor. The disappearance of a character in the dream is not the disappearance of the dreamer. When you shift identity from the mask to the one who wears it, fear begins to dissolve and a deeper peace emerges. You begin to see life not as a battle to preserve the self, but as a play in which the self is one of many characters, all of them expressions of the same source. This perspective also reshapes love, for if the self is the dreamer playing many roles, then the barriers between me and you are not ultimate. To love another is to recognize yourself in disguise, to see that the same consciousness shines behind their eyes as behind yours. When you understand this, compassion arises naturally. You cannot harm another without harming yourself, for there is no other, in the deepest sense. The universe is one dreamer, and all beings are its masks. Love, then, is not something we generate, but something we uncover. The natural response of recognizing unity beneath the illusion of separateness. The recognition that you are the dreamer does not mean abandoning your individuality. Just as in a play the actor still speaks his lines and follows the script, in life you still live out your role as a unique person. The difference is that you no longer mistake the role for the totality. You know that beneath the costume you are more than the part you play. This allows you to take the role more lightly, to act with freedom rather than compulsion, to live with humor rather than desperation. You may be the beggar today and the king tomorrow, but both are temporary disguises. You are the one wearing them all. There is an ancient teaching that says, Tativam asi, you are that. Whatever you see, whatever you encounter, whatever arises in experience, it is you. Not the little you, the egoic self, but the vast you, the dreamer of all. The mountains are you, the rivers are you, the sun and stars are you. Every smile, every tear, every birth, every death, these too are you. You are not contained within the boundaries of your skin. You are the field of consciousness within which the entire universe appears. To awaken to this is to awaken within the dream, to realize that you have never been separate, that you have always been the dreamer dreaming itself as you. And yet, the dreamer chooses to forget. This forgetting is part of the play, part of the delight of being human. For if you remembered at every moment that you are the dreamer, the drama would lose its intensity, the stakes would feel insubstantial. The universe enjoys the thrill of limitation, the poignancy of struggle, but the beauty of fleeting joy. It delights in pretending to be you, with all your hopes and fears, your triumphs and defeats. The dream is not a mistake, it is the very purpose of life. The self is not an illusion to be discarded, but a role to be played fully, knowing that it is not all you are. Thus, the self as dreamer is both a paradox and a liberation. You are both the tiny individual and the infinite whole, both the character and the author, both the mask and the face behind it. To live with this awareness is to live with depth, to participate fully in the dream while remembering that you are the dreamer. You do not need to escape the dream, for it is you. You only need to awaken within it, to shift perspective from the narrow confines of ego to the vastness of consciousness. And in doing so, you find that the boundaries dissolve, the fear diminishes, and life becomes what it has always been, a mysterious, playful, and astonishing dream of the self discovering itself in endless forms. When we begin to see life as a dream, we come closer to recognizing the peculiar truth that the dreamer and the dream are not two separate things but one. In the same way that when you dream at night, you not only inhabit a character within that dream, but also give rise to the entire stage, the landscape, the people, and the storylines. So too in waking life, what we call the self is deeply interwoven with what we call the world. You are not just a small, isolated being navigating an external universe. You are the universe in the act of experiencing itself from a particular perspective, and the distinction between subject and object, between you and what you see, is much thinner than our rational minds would like to admit. This realization that the self may be the dreamer of the whole play changes the way we view reality, responsibility, and even mortality itself. When you walk into a dream at night, you do not decide what the scenery is going to be. You do not plan what characters will appear. Yet the dream unfolds spontaneously, and you are both its author and its witness. Likewise, in waking life, you did not choose your parents, your culture, the language you speak, or the century into which you were born. All of this was given to you, and yet you identify with it as though you had made it yourself. If you look deeply, the same mysterious force that creates your nightly dreams is also creating this waking dream. It unfolds without your conscious effort, and yet you are inextricably a part of it. To say the self is the dreamer is not to say there is some little you, separate from the world, pulling the strings. It is to say that the deep reality we call I, and the deep reality we call universe, are actually the same event viewed from different angles. Think of the ocean and the wave. The wave is a particular form, a temporary rising and falling of water, but it cannot exist apart from the ocean. In fact, the wave is the ocean expressing itself in a certain way. Similarly, you are the total universe expressing itself as a human being. Just as you are not apart from your nightly dream, but are its very substance, you are not apart from the world, but are woven into its very fabric. What you see, hear, touch, and feel are not happening to you. They are happening through you and as you. The dreamer does not stand outside the dream, judging and controlling it. The dreamer is inside, flowing with it, becoming everything it imagines. We like to think of ourselves as observers who stand apart from the scene, peering out through our eyes at an external reality. But what if it is the other way around? What if your eyes are the universe looking at itself, your thoughts the universe thinking itself, your very heartbeat the universe pulsing in rhythm with the whole? This is not just poetic, but deeply practical, because when you see yourself as the dreamer of the play, you begin to understand that the boundaries you believe to be so real are not as rigid as they seem. Your fears and desires, your struggles and triumphs are all part of a greater tapestry that you are already authoring without knowing it. This is why in many mystical traditions there is the suggestion that life is a kind of cosmic play, a drama in which the universe hides itself from itself in order to rediscover itself anew. The Sanskrit word lila means play, and it describes the entire creation as divine play. In this sense, the self you think of as me is like a mask worn by the universe, a temporary role in the unfolding drama. Just as an actor on stage may weep, laugh, or die in the play without ever losing the deeper reality of who they are offstage, so too the universe takes on your form, lives your story, and eventually moves on to other forms and stories, all while remaining what it always was: infinite being, infinite possibility. When you begin to see life this way, the heavy seriousness with which we usually approach existence starts to soften. If you are the dreamer as well as the dream, then every experience, whether joyous or painful, is an expression of the same source. The heartbreaks, the struggles, the anxieties, and the victories are all part of the play, part of the texture of the dream. You begin to notice that there is no need to cling to certain experiences or push others away, because all of them are you. They are not intrusions into your life. They are expressions of your life. You stop fighting the current and start flowing with it. Consider what happens when you realize you are dreaming while asleep, what is often called a lucid dream. Suddenly, the whole character of the dream changes. You know that no matter how terrifying or strange it seems, it cannot truly harm you, because you are the source of it. The monsters, the falling, the chaos, all of it is your own mind. In that realization, fear turns into curiosity. You start to explore rather than resist. In the same way, when you glimpse that your waking life is also a dream and that you are its dreamer, you find courage to face the unknown. You no longer recoil from challenges because you see that you yourself are writing the script. It is a radical shift to realize that the self is not a small creature trapped in a vast and indifferent universe, but rather the very universe experiencing itself as a small creature. This shift does not make the difficulties of life vanish, but it transforms their meaning. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "Why am I dreaming this, and what can I discover through it?" That change in perspective opens the door to wisdom and compassion. If everyone is also a mask of the same dreamer, then their joys and sufferings are not foreign to you, they are your own. To harm another is to harm yourself, because there is no real separation in the dream. This understanding has enormous implications for how we live. It teaches us not to cling too tightly to any role we are playing, because the roles are always shifting. Today you may be the hero, tomorrow the fool. Today you may succeed, tomorrow you may fail, but behind all of it you remain the dreamer. Just as in your dreams, you can be both the victim and the villain, the lover and the enemy, and still wake up to realize you are always yourself. So in life, all these shifting roles are part of a larger unfolding that you are creating and inhabiting at the same time. When we grasp this, even if only fleetingly, life takes on a lighter quality. We are less obsessed with controlling every detail and more willing to flow with the mystery. We laugh more easily because we see the cosmic joke in taking ourselves too seriously. We love more deeply because we recognize the faces around us as reflections of our own being. We let go more readily because we know the story does not end when the role ends. The dream continues, the play goes on, and we are never truly lost within it. In this light, death itself is no longer terrifying, because just as you wake from one dream into another, so too you may awaken from this dream of life into a greater reality. The dreamer does not die with the dream. The dreamer continues, always imagining, always creating. You are not a prisoner of this fleeting story, but the author of countless stories. You are not merely a character walking across a stage, but the playwright behind the scenes. This recognition can turn even the darkest night of the soul into an opportunity to awaken. The beauty of this perspective is that it is not a belief you must hold on to, but a realization that dawns naturally when you look closely at your own experience. Sit quietly and ask yourself, what is the difference between what I call my dreams at night and what I call my waking life? In both, images arise, sensations appear, emotions surge, and I experience them as real. In both, I am convinced of the reality of the moment. The difference is not as great as it seems. And if I am the dreamer of one, why not the other? Why not admit that I am not merely a small self wandering through an alien universe, but the vast mystery of the universe itself, dreaming itself as me right here and now?